Hey, I'm Steve Sapato, and you're listening to the Speaker Talks podcast for speakers, authors, leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who want to learn how to make money now and in the future. And I just want to tell you that we're excited here today. We're excited to have someone with us who is going to teach us how to make money in the future, and that's Jon Taylor. And he's here to help you make money in the virtual world. Are you guys ready for that? Does that sound like something you really want to do, is make more money? Because guess what? Today we're going to teach you that. Hey, Jon, are you on?
I'm on. How are you doing today, Steve?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. So, Jon, tell us a little bit about you. Like, did you grow up rich and famous, or did you just have to work at it a little bit?
Right. Yeah, I grew up working, being a lifelong entrepreneur. I've always dreamed big. I was a long time ago, I was in a band, a rock and roll band, loud, long hair, the fans, everything. And about 20 years later, the drummer came up to me and he said, "Thank you for dreaming big. Thank you for thinking big."
Wow.
And
what was the name of your band?
It was called Modern Art.
Okay.
And we were almost famous, but he said, "Thank you for pushing so hard, because I would have never been, we would have never gotten as far if you wouldn't have always thought so big." And that stuck with me because I do think of crazy ideas, and I do think big. And I've been on a show before and turned off my phone.
We all forget. I wonder if mine's off. I won't look at it unless it goes off. Then we'll know.
Okay. All right, rookie. There we go. So, I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. I've been in CD duplication, and I used to build director files. And if anybody knows what that is, that means that you're old as me. And
director file, is that like the stuff used to be black and white?
No, Director was an early version of Adobe before the web was the web.
Okay.
You'd use Director to create CD-ROM interactive learning systems.
Oh.
And I created those many years ago.
Well, I was thinking of DOS, right? DOS, and then came Windows, and
yeah.
I was around when DOS was around, so yeah.
Yeah, those are languages, and those are
right.
Yeah, that's we're in the same boat, Steve.
Yes. I think I'm in my own boat, way ahead of you, young man.
All right.
So tell us about what you do now, because it says MKEVideo, right? MicroLearning systems.
Yeah. So we're a video company, and we're based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but we work with people all over the country. And we're not just a regular old run-of-the-mill video company. We do things a little bit differently, and it goes back to thinking big. As you can see, we have a full production studio with a giant video wall going behind us. This is real. This isn't virtual. And
now, wait, let's qualify. You say that's real, that's not virtual. Behind me is a virtual screen, so I think if I do something funny, I'll disappear. But yours is an actual wall, a video wall, and that's what important for people to see, because a lot of times they think, well, what do you mean it's virtual? It's real. His is, well, if he could show you the setup, it's really a cool setup. Last time I talked to Jon, he was putting it together, so he's moved along really well. Anyway, I'll let you go ahead, because that's impressive when you say you've got a wall of video. I mean, I want to walk into my living room someday and have that, right?
I know. I'm going to come down here and watch like all the big football games and baseball games. And by the way, our baseball team just got an awesome player. JBJ is now a Brewer, so this is like Christmas to me. So back to the story of what we do.
Does one player make a team? There's the question, isn't it?
Oh no, we have a whole bunch of good players. So now we just have we have an excess of good players now.
See, now I'm from Tampa Bay. We call ourselves Champa Bay now, right?
Yeah.
We have so many championships in every sport now, but especially for the football one where we won the Super Bowl, you could say Tom Brady was the one player who made the Super Bowl. But like you said, you had 25, 35, 40, how many players on a football team, all who contributed to the success of that victory. Tom Brady could have thrown for all those touchdowns. And if we wouldn't have had a good defensive team, it is still lost. So yeah, I appreciate what you said is you've got plenty of good players. Now let's get the coach to put them all together and make a winning team.
Right. And Tampa Bay, you have Sue and JPP on defense. There's great players all the way around. But I am a Green Bay fan, so that was the bitterness. I'm still not over it, so we'll get past that. All right, Steve. But as far as video, what we do, we do broadcasting. So we produce shows on a regular basis, and I have my own show that I produce every week, and then there's people come in, and we can change the background to make it look like their show and their brand. And we also create micro-learning systems, and that's what we're going to talk about today, because micro-learning systems is a way that you can scale what you do as a coach. If you're a change maker, if you touch people's heart, if you make an impact in people's lives by speaking or teaching them information, micro-learning system is a tool that you can use to really make that heartfelt connection.
Cool. And so you say that heartfelt connection, it's a micro-learning system. What does that mean? What does that mean to me? I mean, so I just did a webinar yesterday. Is a webinar a micro-learning thingy?
Not really. So a micro-learning system, it's not a platform or a piece of software. It's a philosophy of how you build the content. So a couple of things, when you hear micro, you think short, but micro-learning systems should be as long as they need to be in order to teach the skill or the behavior change, and as short as possible. So that's the qualifier for how long it is. That's the micro.
Okay, so I've got a friend, Dr. Phil Agrios, and he teaches that you are, most of us self-sabotage. And once we learn how to control our own sabotage, that we can do certain things. So he has 3 steps, in his process, plus he teaches all this. So how would he go about using a micro-learning system?
That's a great example. So if we looked at his system, what we would do is we would take those 3 steps and we'd turn those into modules. So those would be modules 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2, 3, 4. There we go. I learned how to count. And module 1 would be a framework of how the whole thing comes together. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. But his 3 steps, we would break those into lessons. And so we would talk about self-sabotage. So self-sabotage might be negative self-talk, how you communicate to yourself, developing good habits. I've made a couple of these before, so I have some ideas of how this is made. So those would all be lessons that you would make micro-learnings about. And so when we make the lessons, we create layers of learning so that we can really connect with the widest audience possible.
All right. So then if I've created this, do you guys have a platform? Like, where do I put that in? So I've got this course that you guys helped me design in the micro-learning. And then where do I put that in? Do I have to put it on my own site? Do you guys host something like that?
Absolutely. There's a couple of different ways that you can do the hosting side of it. You could use something like Kajabi, Thinkific, or Teachable. And those are all in one platforms that cost a lot of money. And you are kind of, you can only do what those platforms allow you to do, and you're beholden to them. So yeah, you're beholden to their algorithms and their rules and their regulations and all those types of things. And it's easy. So it's the trade-off. You say, okay, I'm gonna have something that's easy. Kajabi's not exactly easy, but it's easier. And for that trade-off, I'm gonna give up some of my freedom, Now, if you host it on WordPress, we do that service for you. So whether it goes on to Kajabi, Thinkific, Teachable, into those platforms, we'll load it all into that platform and help you get there. Or we'll give you the tools to do it if you're doing it yourself. Mm-hmm. If we create a WordPress site, so a lot of us have WordPress sites, and we can just put some plugins into the back end. And so your WordPress site stays the same, except we're just going to put this micro-learning system in the back end. And then we're going to put some payment gateways and some different ways that people can access it. And the access is actually a really interesting part of it, because if you create one micro-learning system on self-sabotage, but then your next micro-learning system is on creating better habits, you could sell each of them individually or sell both of them as a pair. And you could also give away small parts of them as a freebie, like try out my self-sabotage micro-learning system. You can have the first module for free.
Gotcha. All right. So if you were marketing to me, right? I'm a speaking coach. What would be the selling points? Like, why would I mean, I say, well, I can make up my own, program. I can, put it online or something on my website and sell it to people.
Sure.
Right.
And that's a good point. The way that we help people is we help them create effective learning systems, because we've had a lot of experience in building these layers. We've built learning systems for coaches, speakers, organizations, companies, and we've tested how people learn on a large scale. So we focus just on taking what you do in that 1 hour workshop and how can we monetize it. And there's a few different ways that you can monetize it. If you're a speaker, you could, and what do you speak on? You speak on speaking, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I teach people how to be better presenters, how to make money from speaking, how to create their own success. Let's face it, most people think they're great speakers or presenters, and they're boring. And if you're not going to buy something from somebody who's boring, probably.
Right. So to sell what you do, you could translate what you do in that 1 hour workshop and then scale it. So it's trying to translate what you do in that speaking seminar and then turning it into a sellable lesson or curriculum. That's one way. And that's the old way of doing it. If you saw 5 or 10 years ago, everybody with a great idea would just turn on the camera and then sell some type of a course that ended in the number 7,
that's right.
297, 1297.
That's right.
That's the old way of doing it. Micro-learning systems is the evolution of that. And here's how that would work. If you're teaching people how to speak, you want to keep speaking, but you want to up your speaking price. So let's say you're making $1,000 right now for speaking and you'd like to get to $5,000. If you're in a pool of people who are all doing the same thing, the way that you can differentiate yourself is by saying, I'm going to give everybody who comes to see me speak a micro-learning system on how to be a better speaker. So when you give your speech, you're inspiring, you're motivating, you're getting people all fired up, and then they leave. And then your inspiration and your motivation, unfortunately, has a half-life and leaves with you that as soon as they hit the door, because the world happens. Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl, crushing the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship. All kinds of things happen that make us happy or sad. So that micro-learning system is going to support them. So as they're getting over that devastating loss in the NFC Championship, they have the tools to focus on how to be a better speaker and how to make money speaking, despite all the things that are happening in the world. And that's going to differentiate you from the other speakers, but it's also going to make your students, the people who you spoke to, move ahead faster, and they're going to get better results, and they're going to be raving fans as a result.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool concept of we can leave them with. But again, you say micro-learning thing, so it's you help me design the whole process. Is that what it is?
Yes, we help you translate that 1 hour workshop and translate it into something that can add value to you as a business, to add a secondary stream of income. Because we have an outside perspective, we can coach you through the process and really look at your steps and analyze it. A great example, we started on a project on Tuesday, and this person has 27 3-hour seminars, and he wants to turn it into
20. Each one is 3 hours, and there's 27 of them.
Yes, like who would want to learn that? Nobody. So our job is to.
Oh my gosh, what's the topic? Can I ask?
It's on leadership, so it's for emerging leaders. And so if a company had an emerging leader and they wanted to invest into their, their next generation of leaders and build their bench, this is a program that they would buy to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, just think 27 hours would be insurmountable. 27 3-hour modules.
Oh, Lord, it's just too
I
much.
quit. I'm moving to another company, right?
Right?
Oh my
So
God.
in that process, he dumped all this stuff on me, and it's a lot. I mean, it's just, and I have a folder that thick of all of his stuff, and I set that aside, and we made a new folder. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to give this seminar to all leaders, to all kinds of people, all over the board. And what we refined it down to is emerging leaders who are the ages of 22 to 36. Their income bracket is 40,000 to 60,000 because they're getting by, they're making ends meet, but they're not killing it. So they want to get to that next level.
Yeah.
And we're going to sell it to a company, and the company is going to buy it for maybe $5,000 or $10,000 because they're only going to invest in maybe 10 emerging leaders. But the end result is that they're going to have somebody who can run the company. If you put 10 people through this program, one of them is going to come out as a leader of the company, a VP, wow, a president, that type of thing. So you can see we took this huge thing, like all this stuff, and then we translated into a clear path of here's how you can sell it, here's who you can sell it to. And then the second step of what we do, that's the first step, and that's your ideal client and your offer, is validating the content. And that's what we're going to do next is we take those 27 hours and we take all the little pieces, the steps in the process, and we get it out to that audience and we say, how can you use this content? Do you like it? Do you engage with it? That's the validation process. And, when we talk about how we help people, there are the three things. And the first thing we talked about was the client offer. And the second thing is validating your idea. And then the final thing is when we are able to teach big concepts. And I want to touch on that because big concepts are where a lot of people fall short. And we talked a little bit about the early way of creating courses. Someone would find a hack or a gimmick. Like, let's say you're a dating coach and you took your girlfriend or your boyfriend to IKEA. And as a result, you fell in love and lived happily ever after, became a dating coach. So you're going to, in the old way of doing things, you would say, hey, if you want to find the love of your life, take them to IKEA.
That's right.
Which is good if that person and you both like IKEA, and it's kind of a trick. It's a hack. It's not really the lesson. The big concept of that is you took somebody to a place that's neutral, that had none of the images of your life or their life, and you looked at what your life would look together in a neutral place, and that looked good. And that's the big concept. It's not taking them to IKEA for the date. And so when we are creating lessons, that's what we're kind of churning through. Is a lot of people teach the tricks, they teach the hacks. Like if you want to be a better networker, do this, this, and this on LinkedIn. But actually, it's knowing your why and connecting and giving people what they need and nurturing those relationships. That's the bigger concept. And gotcha. That's what we get down to.
So who are your clients? Who are your ideal clients?
My ideal clients are speakers, coaches, consultants, people who are change makers, people who want to make a difference in the world. And they are, they're getting to that next level. They've already experienced success. They have to be very fluent in what they do. They have to be able to move through what they're talking about very clearly so that they can get a broader understanding of what they're teaching. And really, they have to be successful. This isn't a beginner way of doing things. And I don't believe that any beginner coach or speaker should build a course. I think you should hone your craft, get your hours, your Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours, and be an expert. And then you make that continued learning, so that you can scale your business or add differentiating value to your company.
Okay. And again, it goes back to speakers, coaches, people who have something really that they want to share, the change makers, as you said. So it's not really designed for corporations to use. It's designed for more like the small business person with, let's say, 10 or fewer employees, right?
Well, we do use them. The MicroLearning is very effective. We work for the state of Wisconsin, Milwaukee County, Dane County, and we use these MicroLearnings to teach things on a broader scale. One thing I'm very proud of is Milwaukee County declared racism as a public health crisis in 2019 of May. And shortly after they brought us in, they said, how can we use MicroLearning systems to help tell our employees about this new initiative and tell the residents of the county about this new initiative? And so we created a lot of MicroLearning, and in that case, we used peer learning. So we used residents of the county, employees of the county, to talk about this difficult issue and to share their feelings. Because I think that's better than, in that particular case, that was better than having somebody tell people what they should think or tell what they should believe. Instead, let's have everybody share their opinion, and you create MicroLearning in that sense.
Oh, and so they had to evaluate. Well, so that's the opposite of what Coca-Cola did, right? Yours would probably get more play because they're hearing it from people that they relate to. Whereas the Coca-Cola one said, hey, we got to do this. And you were like, wait a minute, why are you the expert? How can you tell me what to do this, right?
Yeah. It's really, and that goes back to the layers of learning. When we create MicroLearning systems, the layers are creating less lessons, fewer lessons, that's a better way of saying it, that have more layers and are more rich in content. So when I talk about that, it's somebody will go into a lesson and they will need bullet points. They'll need bullet points of what's going on because they just want to scan over it. Another person needs a 15-page document of every detail. Some people do better with audio and some people do better with video.
That's right.
All of these different modalities of learning, if you can create a lesson that touches all of those, you can affect change on a broader scale.
Okay. All right. So again, when I'm a smaller business person and I'm looking at this, how do I get a hold of you?
MKEVideo.com is our home, and there are buttons all over there to show you about MicroLearning and how to schedule an appointment. And if you want to see some of the cool videos that we made, they're there also.
Oh, cool. So that's they can go to the website, MKEVideo. That's Mike. What's a K?
Kilo.
Kilo. Mike Kilo Edward, right?
Yeah.
Video.com. And should they, if they just want to reach out and have a quick chat with you, Jon, what do they do?
Jon at MKEvideo.com.
And Jon is spelled, just for the people who are on this on the podcast and not on the video cast, Jon is spelled Jon. Jon
Correct.
at MKEvideo.com. And does MKE stand for anything?
Milwaukee. It's the airport code for Milwaukee.
That's pretty cool. Shows how often I've been to Milwaukee, right?
Right. I know.
Well, I grew up in Davenport, Iowa, so we went up. We went up to Wisconsin a lot, especially as college guys. We went up there because you guys were younger. The age limit was less. I think you guys were 18, you could drink, and we were always 21.
Yeah.
But we always drove up, so I never had to fly into Milwaukee. Now that I'm way down in Tampa, it would have to be flying in.
Right. And there's no reason to fly from Tampa to Milwaukee unless you have family.
I tell people, I said, because I grew up in East Moline, Illinois, and I moved to Davenport, Iowa, and I got married. And people say, well, I've never been to Iowa. And I'm like you, I go, well, there's no reason to go. So, it's like, okay, if you want to drive through cornfields and come up there and have sweet corn at the festival season, which is July and August, that's great. But I don't see another real reason. when I lived there, people would get on the Mississippi River and
Yes.
do a lot of boating and a lot of playing. And I'd go down and look at the water and go, when I was a kid, when we were 16, 17, 18, a couple of my friends had John boats. We'd go out and play in the river on a couple of the close islands. And when you'd get out, when you'd go shower, you showered off, and the water showering off of you was brown.
Yeah.
It tells you how dirty the Mississippi River is. So the fact that all these people are, playing in the Mississippi River and going, "This is great," I go, "Ew, no,
Right.
no, it's not." But that's what they do for fun, and that's okay with me.
The Mississippi was great. We rented a 84-foot houseboat and spent a weekend on the Mississippi. And there was also some storm with tornadoes and all kinds of stuff that
Wow.
went through on our first night. And so we had to harbor up in a cove. It was an adventure. It was great.
Yeah, you had excitement. That's pretty
Oh,
cool,
it was
though.
awesome.
That's what I like too. I left Davenport, moved around a lot when I finally decided. I was one of those guys who always, every winter, I had brick and mortar stores, so I was responsible for getting the parking lots cleaned and keeping the sidewalks, de-iced and all that kind of stuff. So when you had those, every winter I'd be going, why did my relatives stop here? Why couldn't they have gone on to like Las Vegas or something? And
Right?
then at 60 years old, I suddenly went, wait a minute, why am I staying here? Right.
Yeah.
And I started moving around, and we ended up in Sacramento. And you know that
Oh,
song that says it never rains in California?
that's a lie.
Truth, truth,
Really?
right? It's truth. We went through 10 months, and we were there 3 years. 10 months of absolutely not a drop of rain at all. And then you get a few really good storms, which flooded the area a couple of times in that 2 months worth of rain.
Yeah.
But then it went right back to no rain at all. Now, for some people, we're golfers, my wife and I, and we enjoyed going golfing. But I'm a storm guy. Grew up, like you said, on the
Yeah.
Mississippi River, and when storms come through, I revel in the rain and the storms
Yeah.
and the thunder. And so I couldn't stay. 3 years in Sacramento, and I said I got to go. So we came down here to Tampa, and of course they have wonderful rainstorms, and of course 88 degrees, you go out and play in the rain. So that's what I did.
Yeah. And it's
All right.
nice 'cause it's great. I grew up on the other side in Daytona Beach.
Oh, did you really?
I did. So I got the 2 o'clock storm every day. It was good. I think when I was 16, my best friend had a landscaping business, and his family owned a bunch of Sonny's Barbecue.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was our business. We went and mowed all the Sonny's Barbecue over on the East Coast over there in a couple houses. We had a brisket sandwich on garlic bread for lunch every day. And then it
Ooh,
would
man,
start to rain.
those are so good. They, I don't know what every place, but the one right here close to us, down here in the Apollo Beach area, took a bad hit. They went out of business with this COVID thing.
That's
So
a
it's a real shame, how many businesses have taken a hit. Well, and we know that when we talk about your business, that's what we're trying to do, is to help you not only survive all of this mess, but learn and grow. And we all know that video is the future. We know that being able to be a great presenter. So video is king, but being good on video is absolutely vital. That's why I offer a certified virtual presenter program in my bailiwick, which teaches you how to be engaging no matter what you're doing on the small screen. I tell people all the time, John, that there were people in Hollywood movies that tried to move it to TV and failed miserably. There are people
Yeah.
in TV that tried to move to Hollywood and they failed miserably, because it takes different skills to be
It does.
really good on the small screen. And if you don't know those skills, whether you're doing meetings for your job, whether you're doing summits for speaking, whether you're doing networking, you have to know how to engage the people you got between 15 and sometimes 60 people on these virtual meetings, and you have to engage them all. Learning how to do that is vital for your success and the success of your company. So learning how to put together a presentation that absolutely captures people's attention, holds their attention. And that's what, John, that's what you guys do with yours, isn't it? You put in the micro-learning to hold people's attention?
Absolutely. You're the first step. Hook them and get them to be inspired and motivated, and then we're the continued inspiration, motivation.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
and that's what we need to do, is we need to figure out our futures. It's the future of what we're going to be doing. If you look above my head right here, it says the best speaker in Tampa competition is June 10th for me. And what that means is, if people see you on stage if they see you speaking about your best topic, they're going to think of you as a leader. You're going to be more confident in front of any group, and things are going to change for you. And that's important, because then you can also promote that, because we give you a solid video for it and let you promote that however you will. And of course, taking some of that video and sharing it with Jon so that they can put together some of the promotions that they're going to need for your learning technique, your learning styles, is going to be vital to your success, right, Jon?
Absolutely. And that goes into the validation of the content. When we create micro learning systems, if you're creating a book, a webinar, a micro learning system, a course, if you're creating any type of product, validation is by far the most important part. And when they go to your seminar, they can get the coaching, they can be on stage, they can have the video, and they can validate what they're doing well and where they need to improve.
Yeah. Well, you should come down and sponsor my event, Jon. That's what you guys should be doing, sponsoring the June 10th.
Great. I'll be there I'll be there on the 14th. Maybe we'll figure out how to be there on the 10th.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Okay. Yeah. Jon, tell them once again how to get a hold of you so they can go look at your product.
Absolutely. You can go to MKEVideo.com, and you can reach me at Jon@MKEVideo if you'd like to email me or talk. And for your guests, just for your audience, I created a special offer, because when we create micro learning systems, we have a couple of different ways. There's self-guided, there's coached, and then there's done for you. And with the self-guided course, which is our most popular, it's a micro learning system on how to build your micro learning system.
Oh.
I have a special offer for your audience where they can have 50% off, and they can use the code avocado50. And if they go to mkevideo.com and go to micro learning system, it'll guide them through the process, and use that code avocado50, and I will be there to help them, guide them through the whole process.
And what do they click on? What do they click on to put in the code? What is there a special program? You probably got several things going on, but
we don't do a whole lot. We have our shows. When you go to our website, we have our shows, and then we have micro learning systems, and we have Media Day. And Media Day is done here, so your out-of-state audience wouldn't be using that. But the micro learning systems, if it's right on the center of the top of the page, you can go there and
wow, 50% off. That's pretty cool. We like it. So let's see if anybody can jump in and take advantage of this. Growth is what we're all about. You have to learn, you have to grow. Jon, we're right over our 30 minutes. I sure appreciate you being on today. Sure appreciate you coming in and sharing with the group what we can all start doing, and that's growing and becoming. And then you and I will talk maybe later about working on the best speaker in Tampa, which is called Speaker Talks. It's a Speaker Talks system, which is like a TEDx, only you don't have to try and get on a TEDx. I mean, you don't get on a TEDx, I guess. You pay to get on our stages, put out your best 15 minutes of information. And if you'd like more information, certainly come to me, steve@stevesapato.com. You can check me out at stopboringspeakers.com. And we'd love to hear from you. So until next week, this has been Steve Sapato and Jon Taylor teaching you how to be absolutely phenomenal in your presentation and your products. God bless.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
My pleasure.